The big space station floated in the dark between the stars. It was called Harmony Point. No one owned it. Both humans and the Vexari used it when they wanted to talk instead of fight. For 3 years, small ships from both sides had clashed near the border worlds. Neither side could win a full war. Too many ships would die, too many lives would end. So the leaders decided to meet here and make peace. Inside the main hall, the air felt cold and clean. Soft blue lights glowed on the walls. Humans sat on one side in gray uniforms. Vexari sat on the other side. The Vexari were tall, almost 2.5 meters. Their skin looked like clear crystal, with faint lines of light moving under it. When they felt strong emotions, the lights grew brighter. Right now, their lights were calm and pale. Laura Bennett, the human ambassador, stood at the front. She was short, with short brown hair and sharp eyes. She spoke clearly into the translator. "We want peace. Our people are tired of losing ships and friends. We will listen to your terms." Across from her stood Cale Thorne, the Vexari counselor. He was older, with deeper glowing lines on his face. His voice came out smooth but cold through the device. "The Empire also seeks peace, but trust must be built. Words alone are weak. We offer something stronger." He paused. Everyone waited. Cale Thorne raised one long hand. "A union. My Princess Lyra Voss, third daughter of the High Council, will marry a human. This bond will tie our honor. If either side breaks the peace, the shame falls on both families forever. No Vexari will dare attack after that. No human will dare either." Whispers moved through the human side. Laura Bennett turned to her team. They talked quietly for a minute. Then she faced Cale again. "We agree in principle, but we choose the human, and the wedding must be simple and fair." Cale nodded once. "We will prepare the ceremony tonight. The fleets will watch through live feed. The galaxy will see." The humans left the hall to decide who would marry the princess. They did not want to send a famous general or a politician. That would look like a trick. They wanted someone normal, someone who stood for regular people. After a short debate, they picked Daniel Hayes. Daniel was 41 years old. He had short black hair, with a little gray at the sides. His face had small scars from old fights. He used to be in special forces. Now he worked as a liaison officer, someone who carried messages between soldiers and diplomats. He did not talk much. He listened more. People said he was calm, even when things went bad. When Laura told him, Daniel sat in a small room, drinking black coffee. He looked at her for a long moment. "You want me to marry an alien princess to stop a war?" he asked. "Yes," Laura said. "It's symbolic. You don't have to love her. Just stand there, say the words, and live on the same outpost for a while. It buys us time. Real peace." Daniel finished his coffee. "If it stops more kids from dying on border patrols, I'll do it." Laura smiled a little. "Good. Get ready. The ceremony starts in 4 hours." Daniel went to his quarters. He took a shower. He put on the formal dark blue uniform. No medals, no extra decorations, just clean lines. He looked in the mirror. He did not feel like a groom. He felt like a soldier on a new mission. At the same time, Lyra Voss prepared in her private chamber on the Vexari side of the station. She stood tall and straight. Her skin glowed soft silver, with blue patterns that moved slowly like water. Her long white hair floated a little because of the low gravity. She wore a thin robe of shining fabric that changed color when she moved. Her advisor, Cale Thorne, stood nearby. "This is necessary, Princess. The Empire needs stability. The humans are stubborn. This marriage will quiet the warhawks on both sides." Lyra looked at her reflection in the crystal wall. "I understand duty. I have known it since I was small. But I do not know humans well. Are they so different?" Cale hesitated. "They are shorter, weaker in body. Their machines are strong, but their flesh breaks easily. They fight with passion, not precision. You will see. Lyra nodded. Then I will treat him with respect. That is enough. The ceremony began at the center of the big hall. A round platform floated in zero gravity. Tiny lights drifted around it like fireflies. Humans and Vexari stood in circles on both sides. Cameras from both fleets recorded everything. Daniel walked in first. He moved slowly, boots magnetic to the floor until he reached the platform. Then he turned off the magnets and floated gently. He stood with hands behind his back. His face showed nothing. Lyra entered next. She did not use magnets. She pushed off the floor with perfect grace and glided to the platform. Her robe floated around her like mist. The blue lines on her skin brightened a little when she saw the crowd. She stopped beside Daniel. They were close enough to touch, but they did not. A neutral AI voice spoke in both languages. We gather to bind two peoples. Daniel Hayes of Earth, Lyra Voss of the Vexari Empire. You stand here to seal peace. Do you accept this bond freely? Daniel spoke first. His voice was low and steady. I accept. Lyra's voice was clear and musical. I accept. The AI continued. Repeat after me. I vow to honor the peace. I vow to protect the life of my bonded. I vow to stand as one with the other people. If I break this, may my name carry shame across the stars. Daniel repeated the words carefully. Lyra said them with no change in her face. Two rings floated forward. One was simple silver for Daniel. The other was a thin band of crystal for Lyra. They each took the ring meant for the other. Daniel held Lyra's long fingers gently. He slid the crystal band onto her finger. It glowed once and shrank to fit perfectly. Lyra took Daniel's hand. Her touch was cool. She placed the silver ring on his finger. It felt heavy and plain compared to hers. The AI spoke again. The bond is made. Peace is sealed. Let no force break what honor has joined. The crowd stayed quiet. No cheers, no music, only the soft hum of the station. Lyra looked at Daniel for the first time really. He was shorter than her by almost a head. His shoulders were wide, but his body looked normal, not enhanced like Vexari warriors. His eyes were brown and calm. He did not smile. He did not look afraid. Daniel looked back at her. He saw the glowing lines on her skin move faster now. He saw her large violet eyes. He saw the way she held herself straight, like someone who never bent. He thought she looked strong, but lonely too. They floated there a moment longer. Then the platform lowered them to the floor. Gravity returned slowly. Cale Thorne stepped forward. The couple will move to the joint outpost on Selene Moon tomorrow. There they will live as symbols of peace. Laura Bennett nodded. We agree. The crowds began to leave. Vexari talked among themselves. Some said the human looked small and plain next to their princess. Some said he seemed too quiet, like he had no fire. Humans talked too. They said Daniel would handle it. He always did. Daniel and Lyra walked out together down a long corridor. They did not speak. Their steps matched, even though her legs were longer. At the door to their temporary quarters, Daniel stopped. I know this is not what you wanted, he said. I will respect your space. You don't have to pretend anything. Lyra turned her head. The lights on her cheeks flickered. Thank you. I will do the same. She went inside first. Daniel waited a few seconds, then followed. The door closed behind them. Outside, the stars kept shining. The fleets turned their ships away from the border. For now, no one fired. For now, peace held. But both sides knew it rested on two people who had just met, and on one quiet human who said very little. The transport shuttle left Harmony Point at dawn station time. It was a small ship, just big enough for Daniel Hayes, Lyra Voss, and their two guards, one human, one Vexari. The trip to Selene Moon took 8 hours. Most of that time passed in silence. Daniel sat near a window. He watched the stars slide by. Sometimes he looked at Lyra. She sat straight in her seat, eyes closed, hands folded in her lap. The glowing lines on her skin moved slowly, like calm breathing. She did not speak. Neither did he. When the shuttle landed, the air outside was thin but breathable. Selene Moon had green fields now, thanks to human terraforming machines. A low gray building stood in the center, the Joint Diplomatic Outpost. It had wide windows, solar panels on the roof, and a small garden with earth flowers. 2 flags flew outside, the blue circle of Earth and the silver crystal of the Vexari Empire. A small team waited to greet them. Laura Bennett was there again. She smiled at Daniel. "Welcome home. For now." Then she bowed slightly to Lyra. "Princess, your quarters are ready." Inside, the outpost felt simple. White walls, soft lights, furniture that worked for both species, chairs with adjustable height, tables at medium level. Daniel's room was on one side of a shared living area. Lyra's room was on the other. A door connected them, but it stayed closed. The first days were quiet. Daniel woke early. He did push-ups on the floor, 50, then 100. He ran laps around the outpost in the weak gravity. His boots made soft thuds on the path. Sweat came fast. He liked the feeling. It reminded him he was still alive, after years of sitting in meetings. Lyra watched him sometimes from her window. She saw the human run in circles, breathing hard. Vexari did not need to train their bodies this way. Their muscles were grown strong in vats. Their bones were reinforced with crystal threads. Exercise was for fun, not survival. She thought his habit looked strange, almost sad. One morning Daniel fixed a broken light in the hallway. The bulb had burned out. He stood on a chair, unscrewed the old one, and put in a new one from the supply box. No robots, no auto tools, just his hands. Lyra walked by and stopped. "Why do you not call maintenance?" she asked. Daniel glanced down. "It's faster this way, and I like fixing things." She tilted her head. The blue lines on her neck brightened. "Humans waste time on small tasks." "Maybe," he said, "but we learn from them." He finished and stepped down. The light came on steady. Lyra looked at it, then at him. She said nothing and walked away. In the evenings they ate together in the common room. The food was mixed. Human steak and potatoes. Vexari nutrient gels that tasted like sweet metal. Daniel ate slowly. Lyra took small bites. They talked a little. "How was your day?" he asked once. "Quiet," she said. "I read reports from the Empire. Border patrols are calm. No incidents." "Good," he said. "That's the point." She looked at him. "You do not ask about me, about my life before this." Daniel put down his fork. "I figured you'd tell me if you wanted to." Lyra's eyes narrowed a little. "You are careful, like a soldier waiting for an order." "I was a soldier," he said. "Now I'm just trying to keep the peace." She nodded slowly. "I was raised for duty. My sisters chose science or command. I was chosen for alliances. This marriage is my 3rd assignment." "Third?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "2 others failed," she said. "Different species, different reasons. Both ended in treaties that broke later." Daniel leaned back. "Sorry to hear that." "Do not be," she said. "It is normal. Peace is fragile." They finished eating in silence. Days turned into weeks. Small problems came up. A Vexari supply ship arrived late. Daniel helped unload crates by hand, while the Vexari used floating drones. The workers stared at him lifting heavy boxes alone. One Vexari guard whispered to another, "He moves like he enjoys the weight." Another time, a storm hit the moon. Wind shook the outpost. Power flickered. Daniel went outside in a suit to secure loose panels. Rain hit his helmet hard. Lyra watched from inside. She saw him tie ropes, hammer stakes, check seals. When he came back, water dripped from his suit. His face was red from cold. "You could have waited," she said. Waiting lets damage grow, he answered. He took off the helmet. Better to fix it now. She looked at his wet hair and tired eyes. For the first time she felt something like respect. Not all yet, just a small spark. One night they sat in the common room after dinner. A screen showed news from both sides. Humans celebrated lower border taxes. Vexari showed images of new shield arrays. Everything looked peaceful. Lyra spoke suddenly. "Tell me a story about humans, a true one." Daniel thought for a moment. "Okay. Long ago, before we left Earth, there was a ship called Endurance. It got trapped in ice near the South Pole. The crew lived on it for 2 years. No rescue came fast. They ate seals, they burned books for heat. The leader, Shackleton, walked across the ice with 5 men to find help. They crossed mountains no one thought possible. No machines, just ropes and will. They saved everyone. Not one man died." Her skin glowed brighter. "That is extreme." Daniel shrugged. "Humans are good at extreme." She looked away. "Vexari would have used drones, or waited for better weather." "Maybe," he said, "but sometimes you run out of drones, and weather never waits." She did not answer right away. Then she said, "Your people scare me a little." Daniel looked surprised. "Why?" "Because you keep going when everything says stop." He smiled for the first time. Small, but real. "That's not scary. That's just how we are." Lyra stood up. "I will rest now." "Good night," he said. She paused at her door. "Good night, Daniel." The door closed. Outside, the moon's small sun rose again. The garden flowers opened. A light wind moved the flags. The outpost stayed quiet. But something had started to change. Not big, not loud, just a crack in the wall between them. Lyra began to notice Daniel more, the way he walked, steady, never rushed, the way he listened without interrupting, the way his hands were rough from work, not soft like most diplomats. Daniel noticed her too, the way her lights changed when she was curious, the way she asked questions that cut straight to truth, the way she carried duty like a heavy crown, but never complained. They were still strangers, still bound by treaty, not feeling. But the silence between them felt less empty now. One afternoon, a message came from the border. A Vexari drone had crossed into human space by mistake. It was small, no weapons, but it caused alarms. Laura Bennett called on the screen. "Can you two handle the talk? Smooth it over." Daniel nodded. "We'll take care of it." Lyra stood beside him. "We will." They worked together for the first time. Daniel wrote a calm response. Lyra added formal Vexari phrases. They sent it together. The drone was recalled. No shots fired. No anger grew. When the screen went dark, Lyra turned to him. "That went well." "Yeah," he said. "Teamwork." She almost smiled. Almost. Outside, the stars came out again. Selene Moon turned slowly. Peace held steady, for now. But far away, in the dark of space, other eyes watched. Eyes that did not want peace. Eyes that waited for a mistake. Daniel and Lyra did not know it yet. But the real test was coming. The quiet days on Selene Moon ended without warning. It started with a small alert on the outpost screen. A blip appeared at the edge of the sensor grid, fast, small, and closing. Daniel was in the gym, doing pull-ups on a bar he had bolted to the wall himself. Sweat ran down his back. Lyra sat in the common room, reading a report on crystal energy flows. The alert tones sounded soft at first, then louder. Daniel dropped to the floor and wiped his face with a towel. He walked to the control panel. Lyra joined him. The screen showed 3 shapes, sharp, arrow-like ships. No flags, no signals, just speed. "Those are not patrol ships," Lyra said. Her voice stayed calm, but the lights on her arms flared bright blue. Daniel tapped the comms. "This is Selene Outpost. Unidentified vessels. State your purpose." No answer. The ships kept coming. Then the first shot hit. A thin lance of purple energy struck the outer shield. The whole building shook, lights flickered, alarms screamed. Laura Bennett's face appeared on the emergency channel. "Daniel, Lyra, we see it from orbit. It's a splinter group, Vexari hardliners. They want to kill the princess and blame humans. Get to the safe room." The line cut. Another hit rocked the outpost. Sparks flew from a wall panel. Daniel moved fast. He grabbed Lyra's arm. Not rough, but firm. "Come on." They ran down the corridor. The two guards, one human named Alex, one Vexari named Terran, followed. Alex carried a rifle. Terran held a short energy blade. They reached the inner safe room. Thick metal doors. Daniel sealed them with a code. The room had emergency supplies, air filters, and a small weapons locker. Outside, explosions grew louder. The attackers had landed. Boots echoed on the metal floors. Laser fire hissed. Lyra stood against the wall. Her skin glowed so bright it hurt to look at. "They are my people. I should talk to them." Daniel shook his head. "Not now. They're not here to talk." Alex checked his rifle. 3 squads at least. They breached the east wing. Terran nodded. "They know the layout. They planned this." A loud bang hit the safe room door. Metal groaned. The attackers were cutting through. Daniel opened the weapons locker. He took a heavy pistol and a combat knife. He handed Alex extra clips. To Lyra he said, "Stay back." She looked at him. "I can fight. I was trained." "I know," he said, "but let me go first." The door buckled. A hole appeared. A Vexari face looked through, masked, eyes cold. He fired. The shot hit Alex in the shoulder. Alex fell back, grunting. Daniel moved like he had done it 1,000 times. He stepped to the side, aimed, and fired twice. The attacker dropped. Another one tried to push through. Daniel grabbed the edge of the hole, pulled hard, and yanked the Vexari inside. He drove his knee into the attacker's stomach, then slammed the helmet against the wall. The Vexari went limp. Lyra watched. Her lights pulsed fast. She had seen fights before, clean, precise, with shields and distance. This was different. Raw, close, messy. More attackers came. 3 at once. They fired energy lances. The beams scorched the walls. Daniel rolled behind a crate. He popped up, shot one in the leg. The Vexari screamed and fell. Another charged with a blade. Daniel caught the wrist, twisted, and snapped the arm. The blade clattered. He punched the attacker in the throat, hard, fast. The Vexari choked and dropped. Terran fought beside him. His energy blade flashed. He cut down one more. But another shot hit him in the chest. He fell hard. His lights dimmed. Daniel pulled him to cover. "Stay down." The room filled with smoke. Alarms wailed. Lyra moved forward. She raised her hands. A soft shield of blue light appeared around her. "Stop," she shouted in Vexari. "I am Lyra Voss. This is madness." One attacker laughed through his mask. "The princess is weak. The treaty is weak. We end it now." He aimed at her. Daniel jumped in front. The shot hit his chest. The armored vest took most of it, but the force knocked him back. Pain burned across his ribs. He grunted, stayed on his feet. The attacker stared. He should be dead. Daniel straightened. Blood trickled from a cut on his forehead. He breathed hard. Then he charged. He moved low and fast. The attacker fired again. Daniel twisted, took the shot on his shoulder. The smell of burned cloth filled the air. He kept coming. He grabbed the Vexari's rifle, pushed it up, and headbutted the mask. The faceplate cracked. The Vexari stumbled. Daniel did not stop. He drove his elbow into the attacker's side, felt ribs give. Then he swept the leg. The Vexari fell. Daniel stomped on the wrist until the rifle broke free. Another attacker came from the side, tall, armored, with a heavy disruptor. He aimed at Lyra. She raised her shield higher. The beam hit it and spread like fire on water. Daniel ran straight at the shooter. No dodge, no fear. He slammed into the Vexari like a truck. They both crashed into the wall. The disruptor fired wild. Daniel grabbed the barrel, burned his palm, but held on. He twisted. The weapon bent. Then he pulled the attacker close and drove his fist into the throat. Once, twice. The Vexari gagged and fell. The last two attackers hesitated. They looked at their fallen friends. They looked at Daniel, bleeding, burned, breathing like a bull, but still standing. His eyes were steady. No rage, just focus. One turned to run. The other dropped his weapon. Enough, he said. We yield. Daniel did not relax. He picked up a fallen rifle, checked it, and kept it ready. On your knees, hands behind your heads. They obeyed. Lyra lowered her shield. Her lights flickered, dimmed, then steadied. She walked to Daniel. She saw the burns on his hands, the blood on his face, the hole in his vest where the shot had punched through padding. You took that hit for me, she said quietly. Daniel wiped blood from his eye. Part of the job. She reached out. Her cool fingers touched his arm. No human should survive that. He gave a small, tired smile. We're stubborn. Outside, the sounds of fighting stopped. More ships arrived. Loyal Vexari forces and human reinforcements. The splinter group was finished. Laura Bennett and a team of medics rushed in. They found the safe room open. Bodies on the floor. 2 attackers kneeling. Terran wounded but alive. Alex sitting up, holding his shoulder. And Daniel and Lyra standing together. Laura looked at Daniel. You okay? He nodded. I'll live. Medics moved in. One tried to check Lyra first. She waved him away. Him first. Daniel sat on a crate. A medic cut away his shirt. Burns on his chest and shoulder. Bruises turning purple. He winced when they cleaned the wounds, but made no sound. Lyra stood close. She watched every move. When the medic put gel on the burns, Daniel hissed through his teeth. Lyra's hand rested on his shoulder, light, careful. You did not have to fight alone, she said. I wasn't alone, he answered. You were there. She looked down. Her lights glowed soft silver now. Not bright, not scared, just calm. The outpost was damaged, but it stood. The attackers were taken away in cuffs. Reports flew to both fleets. The splinter group had failed. The peace held, barely. But something bigger had happened in that small, smoky room. Lyra had seen what humans were made of. Not machines, not crystal, just flesh and will, and that will had refused to break. Daniel looked at her. You good? She nodded. Yes, thanks to you. He looked away, just doing what needed doing. The medics finished. Daniel stood slowly. Pain showed on his face, but he walked straight. Lyra walked beside him. For the first time, she matched his steps exactly. Not ahead, not behind, beside. Outside the window, the stars shone cold and bright. Selene Moon turned quietly. The flags still flew. The crisis was over, but the real change had just begun. The attackers were gone. The outpost smelled of burned metal and smoke. Medics worked fast. They carried wounded on stretchers. Daniel sat on a low bench in the hallway, while a doctor wrapped fresh bandages around his burned hands. His chest hurt with every breath, but he kept his face calm. Lyra stood a few steps away. She had not moved far from him since the fighting stopped. A new alert sounded, deeper, louder. The floor shook again. Everyone looked up. Through the big window, a massive shadow crossed the moon's surface. A Vexari war mech dropped from orbit. It was huge, 3 stories tall, legs like thick pillars, arms ending in glowing cannons. The machine landed hard outside the outpost. Dust flew up in a cloud. Its red eyes lit up and scanned the building. Laura Bennett ran into the hall. Her face was pale. It's the faction leader. He piloted it himself. He wants to finish what the others started. Our shields are down. The reinforcements are still 10 minutes out. Daniel stood slowly. Pain shot through his ribs. He ignored it. How many inside? None, Laura said. He's alone in the cockpit, but that thing can level the whole outpost in one shot. Lyra stepped forward. I will go out. He will listen to me. Daniel put a hand on her arm. No, he's past listening. The mech raised one arm. A cannon charged with a high wind. Purple light built inside the barrel. It pointed straight at the main building. Straight at them. Daniel looked around. The weapons locker was empty. Most rifles were broken or out of power. He saw a heavy tool crate nearby. Wrenches, hammers, a cutting torch. Nothing that could hurt a war mech. But he moved anyway. Daniel, Lyra said. Her voice was tight. You are hurt. I know, he said. He picked up the cutting torch. It had a short fuel tank. Maybe enough for one job. He walked to the airlock. Laura tried to stop him. You can't fight that thing. I'm not fighting it, he said. I'm stopping it. The airlock cycled. Daniel stepped out onto the moon's surface. The weak gravity made his steps light, but every move pulled at his wounds. The mech turned its head. The red eyes locked on him. A speaker boomed. Human, step aside. This ends the false peace. Daniel did not answer. He started walking straight toward the mech. No run, just steady steps. The cannon stayed pointed at the outpost, but a smaller turret on the shoulder swiveled to track him. Lyra watched from the window. Her lights flared bright, then dimmed with fear. She pressed her hand to the glass. Daniel got closer. 50 meters. 30. A mech fired a warning shot. Energy scorched the ground in front of him. Dirt exploded. Daniel did not stop. He kept walking. At 20 meters, the mech raised a massive foot to crush him. Daniel dove to the side. The foot slammed down. The ground cracked. He rolled, got up, kept moving. He reached the leg. It was smooth metal, no easy holds. But Daniel jumped. His fingers found a seam where armor plates met. He pulled himself up. Pain screamed in his shoulders. He gritted his teeth and climbed. The mech shook. It tried to shake him off. Daniel held tight. He climbed higher, past the knee joint, past the hip. The cockpit was near the chest. A small hatch sat there, reinforced, locked. The mech swung an arm. Daniel ducked under it. The wind from the swing almost pulled him loose. He grabbed a sensor array and pulled harder. Inside the cockpit, the faction leader, a tall Vexari named Vor, laughed. You climb to your death. Daniel reached the hatch. He jammed the cutting torch against the lock. Blue flame hissed. Metal glowed red. Sparks flew. The lock melted slowly. Vor fired the shoulder turret. Shots hit close. One grazed Daniel's leg. Blood soaked his pants. He did not stop. The hatch gave way. Daniel tore it open with both hands. Muscles strained. Veins stood out on his neck. The metal bent and snapped. He threw the hatch aside. Vor turned in his seat. His eyes widened. He reached for a control stick. Daniel lunged inside. He grabbed Vor's arm. The Vexari was strong. Crystal bones. Enhanced power. But Daniel used leverage. He twisted the arm back. Vor grunted. Daniel reached past him. His burned hand closed around the mech's main power core, a glowing crystal orb in the center console. He squeezed. Hard. The crystal cracked. Energy arced. Lights flickered inside the cockpit. Vor shouted, "No!" Daniel pulled. The core came free in his hand. Wires snapped. Sparks showered. The mech froze. Its arms dropped. The legs buckled. The whole machine tilted. Daniel jumped out just in time. He hit the ground hard. The mech crashed forward. Metal groaned. Dust rose in a thick cloud. It lay still. Smoke poured from the joints. Silence fell. Only the wind moved. Daniel stood up slowly. His clothes were torn. Blood ran down his face and leg. His hands shook. He breathed deep. chest rising and falling. He looked back at the outpost. Lyra ran out through the airlock. She crossed the distance fast. Low gravity let her glide. She reached him and stopped. Her lights pulsed wild. Blue, silver, gold. She stared at him, then at the fallen mech, then back at him. No words came at first. Daniel wiped blood from his mouth. It's done. Lyra touched his arm. Her fingers were cool against his hot skin. You broke it, with your hands. He shrugged. Had to. She looked into his eyes. They were tired, but clear. No fear, no pride. Just the same steady look he always had. Behind her, more ships arrived. Loyal Vexari troops, human marines. They landed fast. They saw the mech on the ground. They saw Daniel standing there, small against the wreck. Laura Bennett came out next. She stared. Daniel. He nodded once. Tell them the fight's over. Word spread like fire through the fleets. Screens showed the scene live. Vexari officers watched in silence. Humans cheered quietly in their ships. The image was simple. One human, bloody and burned, standing next to a destroyed war machine, twice the size of a house. Lyra stayed close to Daniel. She did not let go of his arm. When medics tried to take him, she walked with them. Inside the outpost, they laid him on a stretcher. He closed his eyes for the first time in hours. Lyra sat beside him. A medic worked on his leg. She watched every stitch. Her lights settled into a soft, steady glow. A Vexari council ship arrived soon after. Cale Thorne stepped out with other elders. They walked to the crash site first. They looked at the mech. They looked at the torn hatch. They looked at the human who had done it. Cale approached Lyra. Princess, what happened here? She stood straight. A human saved my life. Again. And he saved the peace. With nothing but his body and his will. Cale looked at Daniel. The human slept now, under painkillers. His face looked peaceful, despite the bruises. The counselors spoke in low voices. They had seen strength before. Shields, weapons, crystal armor. They had never seen this. A fragile body that refused to quit. A mind that saw no impossible. Lyra turned to Cale. The treaty holds, but it holds because of him, not because of words, because of what he did. Cale nodded slowly. We see. Outside, the moon's small sun rose higher. Light touched the wreck. It touched the outpost. It touched the two flags, still flying side by side. Daniel opened his eyes later. Lyra was still there. You stayed, he said. She nodded. I could not leave. He looked at her. You don't have to stay out of duty. Her lights brightened. It is not duty now. He gave a small smile. Good. The room was quiet. Machines beeped softly. Outside, repair teams worked. Ships patrolled. But inside, something new had started. Not a grand speech, not a ceremony. Just two people in a small room. One human, one Vexari, bound first by treaty, now by something stronger. The galaxy watched, and for once, no one had words. The repair teams worked through the night on Selene Moon. Sparks flew from welders fixing the outpost walls. Cranes lifted pieces of the broken war mech away. The air smelled of hot metal and ozone. Inside the medical bay, Daniel Hayes lay on a narrow bed. Machines beeped softly around him. His burns were covered in white gel. His leg had stitches. A drip fed pain medicine into his arm. He slept most of the time, body too tired to stay awake. Lyra Voss sat in a chair beside him. She had not left since the medics brought him in. Her robe was still dusty from the fight outside. The glowing lines on her skin moved slow and steady now, like a heartbeat. She watched his chest rise and fall. Every so often, she reached out and touched his hand. Light, careful, like she was afraid he might break. Hours passed. Dawn came. Soft light came through the window and fell across the bed. Daniel opened his eyes. He blinked a few times. Then he saw her. You're still here, he said. His voice was rough. Lyra nodded. I could not leave. He tried to sit up. Pain stopped him. He lay back again. You don't have to watch me like this. I'll be fine. It is not duty, she said quietly. Not anymore. Daniel looked at her. Her violet eyes were steady. The lights on her cheeks glowed a warm silver. He gave a small smile. Good to know. A knock came at the door. Laura Bennett stepped in. Behind her walked Cale Thorne and 3 other Vexari counselors. They wore formal robes. Their faces were serious. Cale carried a small crystal tablet. Laura spoke first. Daniel, how are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck, he said, but alive. Cale stepped closer. We came to speak with both of you. The fleets are waiting. The council has seen the recordings. They have seen what happened. Daniel looked at Cale for a long moment. Human, you fought without weapons, without shields, without fear. You tore open a war mech built to destroy armies. You did this to protect one life, my princess, and to protect a peace that many of us thought was weak. We do not understand how a body so small can hold such strength. Daniel shrugged a little. It hurt. I just did what needed to be done. Cale turned to Lyra. Princess, your words carry weight now. The Empire listens. Lyra took a slow breath. Then hear this. The treaty was made as a symbol, a marriage to stop war. But symbols are empty if there is no truth behind them. I have seen truth. In him. She looked at Daniel. He is not like us. His strength is not in crystal or machines. It is in his refusal to stop, in his choice to stand when everything says fall. That is power we do not have. That is what saved me. That is what saved the peace. The counselors looked at each other. One of them, a woman with deep gold lines on her face, spoke. We have always seen humans as fragile, short-lived, chaotic. Now we see something else, something we must respect. Cale nodded. The Splinter faction is broken. Their leaders are in custody. No more attacks will come. The Empire honors this bond. Not because we must, because we choose to. Laura smiled. Earth feels the same. The fleets are standing down. Trade routes are opening. The border is quiet. Daniel listened. He did not say much. He just nodded once. Cale placed the crystal tablet on the table. This is the new accord, signed by the High Council. It goes beyond the marriage. Full alliance, open borders, and a promise. No Vexari will raise a hand against humanity again, not while this memory lives. Lyra took the tablet. She read it. Then she pressed her thumb to the crystal. It glowed and sealed her mark. She handed it to Daniel. He looked at it. I'm no counselor. You are now, Laura said. By what you did, sign it. Daniel took the tablet. His hand shook a little from pain. He pressed his thumb down. The crystal flashed green. Done. Cale bowed slightly. Thank you, both of you. The counselors left. Laura stayed a moment. Rest, Daniel. We'll handle the rest. She left too. The room was quiet again. Lyra sat back down. She looked at Daniel. You did not speak much, she said. Didn't need to, he answered. You said it all. She smiled, a real smile, small but warm. I meant every word. Daniel looked out the window. The moon's surface looked peaceful now. No smoke, no fire, just stars and quiet. Things will change, he said. Yes, Lyra said, for both our peoples. He turned back to her. And for us? She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was cool. His was warm. I do not know, but I want to find out. Not because of duty, because I choose it. Daniel squeezed her hand gently. Me too. Days passed. Daniel got stronger. He walked the halls with a limp at first, then without. Lyra walked with him. They talked more. About small things, about big things, about earth storms, about Vexari crystal gardens, about what they both wanted from life, now that the war was truly over. One evening, they stood outside the outpost. The air was cool. Stars filled the sky. The 2 flags waved in the weak wind. Lyra looked up. Your people are spread across so many worlds. You keep going. You keep finding new places, new fights, new hopes. Daniel nodded. We don't know how to stop. She turned to him. I used to think that was reckless. Now I think it is beautiful. He looked at her. And you? What do you think now? I think I want to see it, she said. With you. Daniel smiled. Then we'll go, together. They stood there a long time. No rush, no words needed. The galaxy watched from afar. Ships from both sides passed quietly. No weapons, no threats. Just peace, real peace. News spread fast. On Earth, people talked about the human who stopped a war with his bare hands. In the Vexari Empire, elders told stories of the fragile man who broke a mech and changed everything. Children listened wide-eyed. Warriors nodded in respect. But on Selene Moon, it was simpler. Two people, one human, one Vexari, walking side by side, learning each other, building something new. Daniel never bragged. Lyra never forgot. They lived the peace they had saved, not with speeches or parades, but with quiet days and shared nights. And when anyone asked how the treaty held so strong, the answer was always the same. One display of strength, pure awe, no words. The stars kept shining, the moon kept turning, and for the first time in a long time, no one feared what came next.